Interesting you say that because, in fact, this Tuesday earlier this week, I spoke at the BFW, of which I happen to be a life member as well, Veterans of Foreign Wars. And one of the things that that's close near and dear to the VFW is honor the contract, right? I mean, when we ask our sons and daughters to go to war and put their lives on hold and in danger, and they come back, we need to ensure that we take care of them. And the average American, understands that overall. They want to take care of our veterans. But in theory, it's one thing, and in practice, it's another. Central Florida has about 140,000 veterans in this general central area.
We have a VA hospital right in Baldwin Park.
Correct. We have the oldest VA Veterans Hospital in Baldwin Park, and then we have the Lake Nona VA Medical
I live
Center,
right next to that one.
which is an amazing facility. It's great, but
But they could use funding too.
well, it's not so much the issue of funding. It's just its capacity. You
Yeah.
can't keep up.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Only Lawsuits podcast. Today, we have a guest that's near and dear to me and someone that is running for the Florida House seat in District 43, Mr. Jorge Malavet.
Hi. Good morning. Hello, Josh. Hi, Mike. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you and listen and hopefully be able to answer some of your questions.
Well, first off, congratulations on being the Republican candidate. You're running against Vilches Santiago, who's the Democratic representative running in the district. So, tell us a little bit about why you got into the race and some of the experience that you're bringing to the table.
So, for some of you that have been following my campaign, I was running in Congressional District 9 for the better part of over a year now. With the redistricting, they went ahead and adjusted the district to add 4 counties to the original, geographics and also the demographics in that district. So it logistically, it presented challenges for my campaign and also took me out of the community I was looking to serve in, right?
What counties are now in your district?
The current District 43, is now all within Orange County.
Okay.
I have been a Florida resident for 30 years and a resident of the Orlando area for 15. So,
Gotcha.
I think this seat actually gives me the opportunity to serve in the community that I have lived and worked in for the last 15 years.
So yeah, I mean, well, look, I actually, something just popped into my head, which is about Orange County. I was watching the elections yesterday. I don't vote in primaries. I'm an independent. Although people think I'm a Republican, I'm really not. I tend to sway a little bit more red a lot. But
He's gaslighting everyone.
yeah, I'm not. But there's a huge thing about property tax that's come up, right? And one of the things that I saw yesterday in the news broadcast was how the Orange County commissioners are appropriating like budgets for taxpayer money, right? With all this money that they don't have supposedly. And, one of the things that I saw was like their Orange County in particular, they have this oversight committee or something that is trying to like say, hey, this money should be used to go to these places. It's tourist revenue, right? Orange County has Disney. We have Universal. We get a lot of tourist revenue. So they have like a board or something there that's going to present a proposal to the county commissioners of how to use that tourist revenue. And one of the big things I saw was they were going to use, I think it's like $750 million to go to the Dr. Phillips Center. I don't live in Orange County. I'm not an Orange County resident, but my business is located in Orange County, Florida. That kind of drove me insane because I think there's so many other issues that they can use tourist money to fix. And obviously, like being in politics and seeing the use of taxpayer money, being a Orange County resident, how does that like impact your run? And like, what do you foresee, when it comes to your seat and how you're taking your approach towards this run?
So I think one of the issues, specific to actually the upcoming election is Amendment 3.
Yeah.
The proposal for the phasing out or eliminating property taxes for homestead. The bigger issue is affordability. Bigger issue is really the ability for folks, working folks, to be able to keep more of their hard-earned dollars, right? And I think the answer is not. It's not one thing. Obviously, the voters will get to decide, on the ballot, whether the amendment passes. So that's up to the voters. I personally think that, yes, you should own your home at some point, especially as, real estate. Your home is actually the biggest source of income for a lot of people. But unless you sell it, you don't get to use it. So you're what they call paper rich, right? You have $1 million home, but you can't use that to pay the electricity and the grocery bills and the gas. So the issue of affordability, I think it's definitely the bigger picture. And with regards to home ownership, I think that is important. I also think insurance rates are important. They're through the roof. So I think we need to promote ways in which people can have lower insurance rates. And I think that's the best way. And the third and most important is the issue of, income in general, right? Better wages. Orlando specifically has a surplus of people, and many folks don't even look at it that way, but has a surplus of people who are willing to work for less than full salary.
Yeah.
Why is that? Specifically, I think, for example, there's a huge population of students here. UCF alone has probably 50,000 students in the Central Florida area. Well,
Yeah, I think
them,
we're the second UCF.
We're the second biggest
college in the
college in the
country,
States,
I
yeah.
believe, or in the state or in the country.
No, in the States, United
Okay.
States.
Okay, same thing, right?
Yeah,
what's
we
the
were
next
agreeing.
big-
We were agreeing.
Okay,
and the next biggest piece is the demographics, right? A lot of retired folks here who are probably already getting a pension, either from their primary source of, their first career, or Social Security, or both. Well, what happens is that generates a surplus of people who are willing to work for supplemental income, and by default, employers can pay less to get more. So I think in general we need to find ways to give people an opportunity to earn better wages.
gotcha.
Living wages.
Living wages,
Well,
right? Because in fact, I know a lot of adults, even married adults, who need roommates to be able to afford a home.
Mm-hmm.
And then underlying that issue is the issue of education, right? Not everybody has to be a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer.
Of course.
You need to. And then on the flip side of that, not everybody's going to be a TikToker, or a YouTuber, or an athlete, right?
Or at least successful at it.
Yeah.
Correct. So I think we need to ensure that we invest in our education, so that our children can get out and work and have a working wage.
Well, and that was one of my biggest points when I saw that budget
Vocational
proposal
education and
is
training, yeah.
why are we giving the Dr. Phillips Center $750 million? Clearly, it's probably generating some revenue. I've never been there personally, but it looks like a pretty new building. It looks like it's
is, and
very well
they're-
taken care of.
They're
you know?
already in collaboration with Disney, so they're already receiving funding from them. So what do they need taxpayer dollars
Well, that's
for?
my thing, right? And like, I hate to always sound like it, but I just don't trust local governments, especially I'm involved in several lawsuits in Orange County, which I can't obviously discuss. So that could be also why I dislike them. But all things considered, my general point of view is I just feel like giving government an open checkbook automatically hurts the people, right? And that's why, like, look, I'm a proponent of the property tax, amendment. I'm also one of the big things that you touched on of the people that are in Florida now. Florida is one of the most booming states since COVID. I mean, while other people were being hunkered down and told they couldn't go outside or go to church, we were on the beach, we were hanging out. And yeah, the cops told us we had to have no groups of 6 or more, but whatever,
I experienced being locked down in both Los Angeles and New York. That's where I was living at the time.
But the
so,
transplants,
yeah.
right?
There's so many since COVID because also the price of houses here is much cheaper than it is up north or was. They've driven the costs up now.
But did you guys I pay attention to weird shit, right? And one of the things that I paid attention to yesterday during the primary because it's a very good indicator of how the voters are going to go in the election in November. Look at the amount of voters that came out and voted along party lines, right? If you look at it and you see how many Republicans voted in comparison to how many Democrats voted for their particular party, in every race that I looked at, on average, there was about 100 to $200,000 or 200,000 more votes in the Republican lineup. And the way I took that, because I studied political science at UCF, right? And I looked at it, and it aligns with the logic of the past few elections and the transplants that have come from places like California, New York. You know what I'm saying? When you're seeing big companies like are leaving California and they're coming to Florida, they're coming to Texas, they're coming to heavily red states. Those aren't Democrats leaving those states. Those are Republicans or former Democrats that are now Republicans because they're tired of the taxation. They're tired of the, misuse of taxpayer dollars.
There's also more lenient laws regarding corporations and entities.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's a lot more protection. Well, protections for landowners. There's tons of stuff that Florida
Florida's just seen as more business friendly.
Yeah.
Right. Well, a state like New York, a state like California, where there are a lot of regulations and high taxation, these companies or these entrepreneurs, who are running these billion-dollar organizations, they're just like, man, like we don't want to deal with it anymore. And I think you actually brought something up that I would like to ask you. One of the things that we've seen that's been big during the last year and really focused in on this election cycle is government oversight, right? With voters. Mike brought up the fact that Dr. Phillips is getting this $750 million, basically blank check to, spice up the Dr. Phillips Center. I have been to the Dr. Phillips Center. I've attended a few events there, but to me, spending $750 million on that center, I don't think that it does a lot of good for the general Floridian, right? Like the people that are going there,
it's fancy smancy.
It's very, very
nice.
fancy.
It's
very, very nice. It's very, very fancy.
Ballets and stuff.
I mean, I've performed there as well.
Different, like off Broadway, productions, international productions that come through. But where I'm getting at is for you, how do you as a candidate build trust in a time of distrust, right? With like the current constituents?
I would say transparency and accountability. I mean,
that's it, right?
The CFO, our current CFO and now the nominee on the Republican ballot for November as well, has done an outstanding job in his efforts, FAFO, going around and auditing local governments, right? The amount of money that has probably doubled in the last 8 years during Governor DeSantis' administration has put a lot of money into local government coffers. What it has sort of lent itself to do is also misuse and in some cases, just more government, right? And one of our key tenets is that, we want less government. And specifically in my case, I worked in financial management for 20 years, first with the U.S. Navy and then 10 with the federal government in both agriculture and homeland security. And I know that the idea has always been, for me, I always treat every dollar like it's my own. And I remember when I was in the Navy, I would have somebody want to come out and buy something, right? And they'll bring me a $700 drill that they found in some government contract. And I would say, well, let me ask you a question. It says, I'm going to want you to go ahead and buy that out of your money and look for something in Home Depot. Say, oh, no. Well, then, no. I said, exactly. So when I'm going to go buy something, I may buy the best at Home Depot, but it's not going to be a $700 drill. It's probably going to be a $250. And it may be the best brand, the best, all the gadgets, right? Doesn't have to be thrift. But you got to treat the taxpayer dollars like it's your own. People, I've spent the better part of my career, both, again, in my previous positions, but even on the campaign trail, telling people need to know politicians work for you. They have to be accountable to you. So by implementing ways to do things much more efficiently and actually transparently, I love dashboards. I love data. I love dashboards. I love to be able to look at things clearly. I like to say numbers don't lie in every aspect. It's like the people trying to lose weight. The numbers don't lie. You put this many calories in, and you don't put them out.
Not on my, what is it? My 600-pound life.
My
The
600-pound
doctor,
life.
the one
Numbers don't lie.
doctor.
Yeah.
Dude.
I love that
Yo,
guy.
I love that guy
As
too.
I like to say that numbers don't lie. So I at the end of the day, I think we need to hold our politicians accountable and our local governments accountable and make sure that people know how the money is being spent.
Well, you know what's interesting, it's funny you talk about, the government spending of money, right? And I just saw this morning, as a matter of fact, somewhere that's even near and dear to me and Josh, University High School. There was a news article this morning that University High School, the air conditioning isn't working properly during the school year. We've been in record heat numbers right now. Right, like this is record heat in Florida. I think we're like a 110 index yesterday or something like that, right? Me and Josh graduated from UHS in 2006.
Yep.
And that just made me think about it. Look, you're using taxpayer dollars for the Dr. Phillips Center that is really, I guarantee you they got good AC. You could easily take that money and Orange County should take that and invest into things like you said, into the citizens of Orange County, like the public schools, like the people, like programs that'll help people. Like my son plays for basketball, and we went to one of the like city complexes for a basketball tournament over the summer. I'm not going to say it was horrible, but it looked like shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not something, if it's owned by the city, I think it could have just been, they could invest more. And I just think transparency and think people being more understanding of what the government's doing with their money and politicians that are willing to have transparency, like the current CFO. That's one thing I will say. We knew someone that was running for CFO in Florida. And that was always something that when I looked at, one of my friends that's running versus the current CFO, I always looked at it and I was like, well, the big distinguishing factor here is I think it's no matter what, whether or not I wanted him to win as a friend or not, I always looked at what the current CFO was doing and the fact that he was doing the things like holding local governments accountable. Another local politician in Florida that's really been doing that is the current attorney general. Current attorney general, like they're really, the way I'm starting to see some of the way politicians in Florida, which are Republican, they are being more transparent than their counterparts. So it's interesting to hear someone actually say transparency and stuff like that.
And I think experience matters. I mean, I like to say, been there, done that, and I got the T-shirt.
Gotcha.
I have spent, again, a career in doing things in service, both in government, in the military, and in government, and understanding that you're there for the public. You're there to serve the public. So yeah, it matters.
So you said you were in the Navy, right?
Yes, sir.
And didn't you? I think I heard you say something about submarines.
Yes, I spent 20 years in the U.S. Navy. I enlisted in the Navy at the age of 18. I served my first 10 years as an enlisted sailor, during which I went to college, got my degree in a bachelor's in management of human resources. And then I went on, got a commission and went on to, it's funny, I decided I was going to go serve on submarines, but I forgot to tell my wife. So she was in Pensacola at the time. And when I got commissioned and I got the offer, the opportunity to go serve on a Trident submarine, as a matter of fact, these are the boomers, the big ones.
Yeah.
I called home and I said, hey, hence the 30-year in Florida. I called my wife and said, I'm going on submarines. I'm going to Connecticut and Georgia and all that stuff. She goes, well, then good luck. And I'm going to be in Florida. So she stayed in Florida, raised my children in Pensacola, Florida. But nevertheless, I went on to serve on nuclear submarines, then went back to NAS Pensacola, where I served on that base until retirement in 2008.
So how, I'm on the water all the time. I love the water, and I
Not
like scuba diving.
submarines.
But let me tell you what, dude, I'm never in a million years, even after watching the whole Titanic thing that happened a few years ago, you cannot pay me to get on a submarine. What is it like? What is it like being on a submarine? How many people were on the submarine with you, number one? And what is it like?
At the time, the crew, we were about 146 in the crew.
Okay.
Yeah. And so
That's a lot.
I get a lot. People, oh, it's small. No, they're actually not very small. You know,
Yeah.
these things are about 540 feet long.
Okay.
That's pretty long.
Yeah.
Almost 2 foot. Those
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
And 45 feet in diameter, right? So they're about 4 stories deep. If you think about it, what you
Yeah.
see on the surface is especially on Trident submarines, commonly referred to as the turtleback. It's that flat spot you see that's
Yeah.
floating above the surface with the missile tube doors.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's about 10 feet. The whole ship is submerged.
Yeah.
So think about a small cruise ship submerged. I mean, it's that big. So they're not that small.
But is
The
it?
experience of, and I'll be honest with you, it's not something I had even thought about in my career. You know, I have a funny story about my Navy career, right? I joined the Navy. I ended up in the Navy because the Air Force recruiter was out to lunch. But I do mean that literally. I was at a recruiting station in the Bronx, New York, with the 4 services, right? Army, Air Force, Marines, and Navy. And I'm sitting down in the waiting area next to this poster that had the nose of a jet, and it said "Aim High" at the time. It was the Air Force slogan at the time. And the sailor walks by in his Cracker Jacks, you know, the white uniform, you know, the ones on the traditional sailor uniform. And he looks at me, he goes, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "I'm waiting for the Air Force recruiter." He literally looked at me like he was offended. He goes, "Why?" and now I know. And I go, "Well, I like planes." And he goes, "Have you seen Top Gun?" I was, "Yeah." He goes, "Those are Navy planes." So there you go.
Uno reversed you.
he goes, "Come with me." So I go there, right? Again, I started with, I like planes. At the time, I was working at a plumbing supply store doing supplies.
Yeah.
Well, lo and behold, I go and I end up doing 20 years in the U.S. Navy working in supplies on surface ships and on submarines. I did get the opportunity to work at a naval air station. But I had nothing to do with planes directly. But that's how I ended up in the Navy. You know?
How deep would the submarine normally be when you were like, you know, underwater? Like what's the max depth you've got to?
So that actually is classified.
Oh damn.
But you can Google it.
Gotcha,
You can Google a version of it. I think the unclassified version it's anywhere, I think, about 800 feet deep.
You're asking that as a diver, and
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I think I haven't looked it up. I'm sure it's in Google. You could, I think, 800 feet is the unclassified.
well, I watch a lot of like diving content because you know we dive. Obviously, I saved Josh's life. I don't know if he told you that.
Do we have to talk about this
Every
every
single-
episode?
Every opportunity.
every
This is the new
opportunity,
Mario
every
got hit by
opportunity
a
now.
car?
Yeah. So
Our diving Bon Air.
but
I guess I
but-
should be grateful. He's my
Yeah.
my grandson. He's my grandson's father, right? So you can cut that out.
So, you can thank me later, don't worry. But no, because I'm always watching diving content, and so I've seen like I've seen the scuba diving bells, and I know submarines sometimes are involved with that stuff. There was a submarine incident I remember watching where I think they saved some people using a diving bell or something like that. But the submarine content that's crazy. Now there's no way in hell because 800 feet is pitch black. Like you're not getting daylight down there.
Okay, so that's actually correct, and that's a misconception. People think we have windows on these things. We don't. Those things navigate through sonar, strictly sonar.
Really?
Sound.
I wouldn't want to see out there anyways.
Sound,
That would
obviously.
scare me.
Yeah.
Obviously, other technology has
can't do
evolved
diving.
over the years, but bottom line is it's like sonar, right? You're literally navigating.
So you don't even get to
charged
look out
craft. No,
wow.
there's no such
I don't.
thing.
Yeah, because I don't think glass could handle that type of any sort of industrial glass could handle that type of pressure.
I mean, look at Ocean Gate. I think you're right.
Wow.
Yikes.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
but yeah. So
On
there's
that note-
visibility is not an issue. submerged.
Yeah.
For these things.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, amazing. And tell you, one of the things that I loved about the submarine community specifically was, and every service has like their sub-services. You've got, the folks, the Navy, you've got the surface Navy, the aviation Navy, you've got the submarine service, you've got the Navy SEALs. They all have like sub-cultures and sub-service, right? But the submarine community, it's amazing. I think one of the when I was with the surface Navy, they're commonly referred to as bubbleheads. Probably intended to be condescending, but more along the line of they're too smart for their own good, or they're geeks, that kind of thing. Because we read the procedure for everything we do. But one of the things that the submarine service takes pride in is that we haven't lost a sub in over 50 years, right?
Holy shit.
One of the things that you can't afford to make mistakes down there. So yes, you do things twice, sometimes 3 times, and you check and double check, and we like to refer to it as slow is good. Take your time to get it done right the first time, because you don't get a second chance. I think that culture, it's amazing. It really developed, and even in me, an attention to detail thing. I'm real picky. Some people that have worked with me know that, but that's actually where I learned most of it was. And sometimes you got to slow down and look at the rules, look at the process, so that you can get it right the first time.
So is it fair to say that when you watch, wasn't there a submarine movie with Gerard Butler a few years ago that came out?
There have been quite a few submarine movies, but I mean, one of the ones that comes to memory that's big is U-571. And then that was like, I think
do you watch
Matthew
submarine
McConaughey
movies and like get pissed off about what they're doing?
Yeah, exactly.
How realistic are they?
So I served on a Trident submarine, which is the closest movie to that is Crimson Tide.
Is that
with Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington?
Oh yeah, Crimson Tide.
I think I remember
Crimson Tide.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. It's amazing.
Farah hasn't watched
I think
it.
it's timeless.
I definitely haven't watched. I think I'd be too scared to watch.
No, I think it's timeless. It really is.
Okay.
But so generally speaking, what I had watched that movie prior to being on submarines, and then when I served on submarines, yes, I get pissed off. I'm like, that's not true. To your point earlier when you were talking about visibility. They have in that movie, there's a section that we have like in a little video screen, the 2 ships, the 2 contacts, aiming and whatever. That's not true. We don't see little play video game like stuff. You're actually, and again, I've been away from that for many years. I last served on submarines in 2001, so I'm sure that technology has evolved a lot since. But at the time, we were literally plotting on a chart courses and ranges and contacts, right?
Yeah.
It's on paper. There's some sound waves over there. But no, you get mad. You'd be like, that's not true. The guy jogging for miles on end on the ship. There's so much stuff in the way. He really can't get away with that much. You run on a treadmill.
Yeah.
Well, one question that I had to ask, because we're on the topic of your service, is one of the pillars of what you're running on is taking care of veterans, right? So there's a lot of criticism, around like the VA, especially here, in Central Florida, that, that's constantly being brought up. Some of it deserved, some of it not deserved. What are some things that you can talk to voters about, like with what your plan is for veterans?
Yeah, so interesting you say that, because in fact, earlier this week, I spoke at the VFW, of which I happen to be a life member as well, Veterans of Foreign Wars. And one of the things that that's close, near and dear to the VFW is honor the contract, right? I mean, when we ask our sons and daughters to go to war and put their lives on hold and in danger, and they come back, we need to ensure that we take care of them. And the average American, understands that overall. They want to take care of our veterans. But in theory, it's one thing, and in practice, it's another. Central Florida has about 140,000 veterans in this just general central area.
We have a VA hospital right in Baldwin Park.
Correct. We have the oldest VA Veterans Hospital in Baldwin Park, and then we have the Lake Nona VA Medical Center.
I live right next to that one.
Which is an amazing facility. It's great, but
but they could use funding too.
Well, it's not so much the issue of funding. It's just its capacity. It can't keep up. It takes, for example, You can literally schedule a dental appointment with the VA for a year from now.
A dental
A
appointment?
dental appointment before you even get in.
You remember when we hosted Nathan on the podcast?
You know, an MRI. I mean, you've got a busted knee, and they call you, and you got to schedule you for an MRI, and it's weeks out. Orlando Health, you can get an MRI tomorrow.
Listen,
or this weekend, right?
We handle personal injury cases, and some of our clients are veterans, and it is very hard to get any records to help us with their cases.
Not even records for them to get treatment to have those records.
Yeah, so I
just
get it,
to his point.
So I think this administration, our current administration overall at the national level has done good things for the VA, right, and for the veterans, and they're making progress. But there's a lot, much more to do, and part of it involves these recent initiatives for community care. The VA has a program now in which if they can't handle your care, they will outsource it. They'll refer you to the community and they'll pay for it. And that's but one aspect of it, right? But definitely important. The other issue is, again, the administration's done progress, and that is VA claims for like disabled veterans. Used to take years, and at times they get denied the first time, and then lack of evidence, or to your point, can't find the records. You got to get lawyers. It becomes cumbersome. So I think we should do everything possible to ensure that we take care of our veterans, and even if it involves public-private partnerships, right? With maybe provide for local dentists, to supplement that capacity, expand, community care opportunities.
And the beautiful thing about the VA is it is federally funded, right? And I think, obviously, we know how federal law trumps state law, and some things that I've thought about in the past, and, that I've always thought could be incentives to do work with, non-government associations, is giving a little bit of tax relief for, donating a service or something like that, right? So like, for instance, rather than making a veteran wait a year and a half to go and see a dentist, just let dentists have a certain amount, allocate a certain amount of their clientele to veterans and get tax, relief from that they can, offset their tax liabilities. Because as a business owner, I've always said it. I don't mind paying taxes, right? As long as my tax dollars are being used fairly, right? And that's one thing. I would much rather take my tax dollars and spend them to be used the right way. I would rather go help someone buy a house or help someone obtain housing, because I just think the government, isn't as mindful with my money as I would be if I'm doing that. And I know that's super theoretical, but that's some ideas of how I think of, fixing some of those issues with, delays in care. So
anything else? Well, one thing about like this campaign as well is that we've seen that the Republican, not only the Republican turnout being higher with the most recent primary, but also like there now being a lot of people wanting change. Wanting change like across the aisle. So how important is it for people to show up and vote on November 3rd?
So I think it's critical for people to show up to vote every time they have an opportunity to pick their elected officials, right? I've spent on the campaign trail, times educating people. Politics can be very confusing. People don't know, well, what's my district? Is it the state? Is it the level? Is it the county commissioner, city commissioner? There's so many. Florida has over 6,000 elected officials.
Wow.
6,000 elections, right, at different levels. So but I think it's critical that people inform themselves, educate themselves, and have a voice in picking their elected officials. What I think in the region I'm in this is the last couple of years have polarized our communities. They have literally gone from extreme right policy and ideation to extreme left. And I'd like to think that most of us are in the middle. I'd like to think most of us are reasonable people, and that together we can address the issues that are important, with integrity, with respect. We can address the issues that are important to our families, our communities, the state of Florida, and our country overall. I think we all want the same thing. We want a stronger economy. We want safe neighborhoods. We want quality education for our children. And then, again, it's personal to me, and I think it should be to every American because they've protected our freedoms to take care of our veterans and our seniors. Our seniors have done their work. They've done their job in building our communities, and I think we need to make sure that we take care of them as well.
And we're all going to be there someday. So
absolutely. Some of us a little faster than others. You say you graduated in 2006. I'm like, well, I was in my 40s then.
I know
You're older than
the time flies by.
So in a nutshell, I don't want you to say, "Hey, only vote for this." I think I know you're going to say what party to vote for, but what are some things that you think voters should examine? Because this is something I have people that call me on election day. And they ask me, "Hey, how are you voting, and why are you voting this way?" Right?
But that's also because they don't understand everything that's written on the ballot. So I have that a lot too.
And that's my point.
Yeah, I've actually had to decipher some stuff on the ballot.
What are some
even
things?
in my family, I'll explain to them, "Hey, that's what this means to
What
me."
are some things you think people should do research into when selecting a candidate to vote for in November?
So, specifically my race, right? I'm not asking people to vote for the party, right?
Yeah.
Don't vote Republican, don't vote Democrat. Vote for me. Vote for the candidate that has the right mix of background, right? Because I'm not running. I'm not selling myself as the perfect candidate, right? I am me. I'm Jorge. I want you to get to know me, get to know my background, learn a little bit about my military service, my government service, my education, my personal history, good, bad, or indifferent, right? But I think at the end of the day, you should vote for the candidates that's going to stand for the principles and values that you subscribe to, regardless of parties. I mean, you've got, again, like I mentioned earlier, the extreme politics and the right and the left and the clickbait and the sound bites. In my case, experience matters, right? My life has been dedicated to service. 20 years, another 10. I was an entrepreneur. Mind you, rather challenging times. I learned from that too. We learn from everything that we've experienced in our lives.
So
do your homework.
Yeah, do your homework. And obviously, yes, last night you had a big win. We saw you posting some pictures with the current Republican nominee for the governor, Byron Donalds. What's the campaign look like for you now? Are you going to be out stumping with all the your fellow Republicans? What's the next few weeks look like for Jorge?
Well, yeah, the next few weeks are going to be about we call it the ground game. I'm going to be knocking on doors. We're going to be reaching out directly to voters. Again, this district has a large population of NPAs, no party affiliated voters who decide elections, right? And again, our communities, values, principles, people that care about the candidates they pick. So what we're going to do, we're going to be knocking on doors. We're going to be, I'm going to be meeting with yes, I'm going to be attending party events. I'm going to campaign along our nominee for governor, Congressman Donalds and Senator Ashley Moody. In fact, I have already spent some time on the campaign trail with them. We've run into each other a lot of time, attending their events and all that. And I definitely think we all need to ensure that we keep Florida, the free state of Florida, and that we continue this great, amazing work that Governor DeSantis has done with Florida in the last 8 years. Because as the governor liked to say, people vote with their feet, and people are coming to Florida in droves.
Listen, we talked about this a few weeks ago, but Florida dodged a bullet when DeSantis ran, against Gillum. So, DeSantis has done a really good job.
Gillum stays getting in trouble.
Andrew Gillum.
No, I don't even want to bring it up. But
Andrew Gillum.
But yeah, I mean, I think Florida's been a really good home to all of us. We're real fortunate to live here. I think we're excited to see how your campaign goes. Obviously, we have a vested interest in you because Josh is his family. So but I've known you before this, and And I know your daughter really well. We've worked with your daughter for a long time. I'm happy to see you in this race. I'm happy to, to see this thing play out. And look, we're excited to see what the future holds for you. So
Yeah, I mean, you're a great candidate in this race, and I think it's gonna go well.
and this is not a paid advertisement.
This is not a
either.
paid advertisement.
We
so.
genuinely like you.
Yeah, we do genuinely. Yeah, we genuinely
Well,
like
thank you. I
Jorge.
appreciate that.
But no, Jorge. Yeah, no, seriously. All jokes aside, thanks for coming on. We are really, really excited to see how it turns out November 3rd. And to anybody watching this podcast, I know that there's a lot of support on the ground for change. But if you want to see the change implemented, you go out and vote. Go out and vote November 3rd. It can't be all about talk. You got to show up to the polls. To everybody tuning in, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate all the support now that we're back on a consistent episode upload stream over the last month and a half. So if you guys like what you see, please subscribe. And if you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments below. And until next time.